What is going on, legendary human? Ryan Magic here, and in this video I'm going to give you a comprehensive breakdown of why you shouldn't study business if your goal is to be an entrepreneur. Now, if you're new to this channel, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest videos I'm bringing out and be committed and accountable to living your best life. So, I'm going to pre-frame. The reason that I felt pulled to do this video is because I'm a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. I've done over $10 million in my own businesses. And I've also studied entrepreneurship at university for one semester, for one cohort. Now, this is a very important distinction that I want to pre-frame before we get into this. And that is that university is important for people to get a huge amount of knowledge in their career of choice when the career of choice has certain social and physical risks associated to them. So if you look at medicine, if someone doesn't know it all before they start learning and doing their practical study after learning all the knowledge, there's a lot at risk there. People's lives are at risk, their health is at risk. Engineers, the way that they're doing the buildings, there's a lot of risk still associated with that. If they stuff it up, there's big consequences. And socially with law, if people stuff that up, there's a lot at risk. Business, there's not a lot at risk to the social and physical climate. And that's why if you want to study those things, this video's got nothing to do with it. This is to do with being an entrepreneur. And I'm going to talk about in depth, so you have, instead of just a no, you shouldn't go to uni in business because business it's a waste of time, you should just start a business. I'm going to give you a really in-depth breakdown on why, so you understand it, and then you can make your call on what you want to do. So the first factor that I want you to consider is that wisdom comes from blood. And what that means is that you can think about this and reflect on it yourself. When you mess something up, you really, really learn it. The thing when you do a business degree is you're learning concepts that may be applicable at some certain stage in the future, but you forget it. When you do a certain action in business and it doesn't work, and there's some consequences to that. Like if you launch a marketing campaign, put $100 into it and it doesn't work, you're like, damn. And you improve it and you learn about what works and what doesn't right there and then. When you're studying the 7 P's of marketing, product, placement, people, this stuff has got no relevance. It's not going to change the way you write an ad when you're going to launch an ad to advertise your business. You're not going to remember it. It's going to have, when you stuff it up is when you actually get the lessons. And that is a really important thing. Another thing I want to talk about on this point is that wisdom comes from action, not age. A lot of people think, oh, but I'm young, I don't know too much. So I was at the age of 21 advising other entrepreneurs and business owners on how to grow their business. Some of them were 40, some of them were 50. I was a dating coach at one point in time when I was 19 and I was helping 30-year-old men. I had more wisdom in that area because I'd just done a lot of approaching different girls and learnt about how to go about dating because I had a lot of experience even though I was younger. So wisdom comes from action, not age. And I'd say as well, not information, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. So if you want to get wise at business, the more action you take in it, the wiser you get. The more you study, it has no change at all in your degree of wisdom. You really, really remember things when you do them. And if you stuff them up, you remember them 100 times more. My biggest lessons, and I'll give you an example. I had a business mentor I was paying over $100,000 a year to in my business who kept saying, don't do this, don't do this. You're going slightly too fast. You're going slightly too fast. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Then when I actually went too fast and made a couple of big decisions that impacted me massively financially, I lost $400,000 in one of the decisions, and another one, there was a $500,000 loss from a couple of things that were a consequence of not listening to the mentor's advice. The reason why, I learned so much from that. I actually listened. When I heard it, it had no impact. It's kind of like money doesn't make you happy. There is nothing that I can tell you about that that's going to stop you pursuing money. There's nothing. Until you get it and realize it doesn't make you happy, then you'll be like, crap, I need to go for more now. I need to get into spirituality and learn about fulfillment. There's nothing I can say that's going to change your perspective on that because the wisdom comes with blood. And university doesn't give you any blood, unfortunately, because we want it. That's how we learn. That's the first thing I want you to consider. The second thing is that common sense in business is 1,000,000 times more important than information and intellect and knowledge. And I'll give you some examples. I know so many, because I've been in this space as a business coach and coaching and entrepreneurial organizations. I literally know hundreds of entrepreneurs that do over $1 million a year in their business. Hundreds. And I really intimately know, let's say, 20 people that do between 10 and 150, probably more, maybe 30 people that do between 10 and $150 million a year. Some of these people are intellectually the stupidest people ever. Like, you ask them questions about society and politics and history, they know nothing. But they are very, very intelligent when it comes to basic stuff. Like, I want to make money, so I've got to spend money. Ugh. And they put money into marketing. That makes sense, I'll do more of that. And they crush it. The more, because I've coached over 1,000 small business owners, the more intelligent they are, the older they are, especially if they come from corporate, they suck at business. I know if I had some stupid 18-year-old, ignorant, completely inexperienced, very immature, not very intellectually intelligent young dude that was hungry, and I had a 40-year-old person that had been a senior executive making $380,000 a year for the last 3 years, who's very well-rounded in his or her view of the world, and they come and they say, I would like to do your business course so you can help me break through. I would put $1 million on that young person, if I'm coaching both of them, to crush that other person. Crush with my mentorship. I've seen it I've coached so many senior executives. I've coached so many people that have been super high up in corporate. And I've coached so many young people that are just really excited at the idea of getting rich quick. And these guys, they don't always break through, but they crush these other ones. Because the more that you know, the more you're in your intellect, the more that you're in your head and you have information and you overanalyze and think about things, the slower you move and the more you suck in business. Because business is you've probably heard this, any decision is better than no decision. If you just go action, 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 wrong, right, failure, success, you're gonna crush anyone that's kind of still thinking and doing spreadsheets on it. I'm telling you, from building multiple successful businesses myself, by mentoring over 1,000 business owners, you've got to trust me big time on this. Like, my friend's business does 30 mil a year. He is just such a beautiful dude, but like, this is how he talks. Yeah, mate, man, yeah. How's the business going? Yeah, mate, no, yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, no, man, yeah, mate, it's good. No, yeah, no, man, yeah, mate. This is how he talks. He's running a $30 million business because he just moves, and he's got very good common sense, and he's a very beautiful person as well, I'm just going to say. But from an information perspective, he sucked at school. He was like one of the naughty kids that didn't do anything, was chasing girls. He would clobber the average intellect from university. He has, obviously, with a $30 million business. So common sense goes miles above information and intellectual intelligence. You got a great score in literature at school. Great. Nothing. It's probably going to be a deterrent for your business success. Okay? And this is just a very important thing to understand. And it's true. I'm trying to emphasize how true this is. You've got to feel it. Think of Gary Vee. How'd he go at school? No good. He would have been terrible at school. He just moves. That's it. He doesn't speak super intellectually and intelligently. He just says the point. Common sense. He's got such great common sense. Information, intellectual knowledge, not really. Just that. 3, courage contradiction. Being courageous in business is very important. There's a difference between courage and stupidity. Courage is when you know you want to do something, but you can't get yourself to do it. That's what's required. When you're struggling, that's the missing piece with courage. So if you know you want to do something and you can do it, you're courageous. So think of you and think of you knowing you want to be an entrepreneur, but you haven't launched a business yet. That's a lack of courage. And it's the same lack of courage that would have you go to uni. Okay? I know I want to be in business, but I'm going to just do this. That's the opposite of what's required in business. Now, it doesn't mean stupidity where it's just like frivolously throwing money at things you don't even feel confident in. But it's like, I feel confident in this, boom, I move. And again, that just a decision is better than no decision. Even if it's wrong, you've got to trust me on this. In business, that's what works. And so by going to university, just the essence of the decision of going to university is contradicting one of the most important qualities that you need to be a successful entrepreneur. And again, it doesn't mean frivolous. It doesn't mean stupidity. It means when you know you want to do something, you do it. I know I want to go and talk to that girl. I know it, but I'm not going to do it. That's lacking courage. I know I want to start a business. We'll start one. I can't do it. That's lacking courage. You know you want to be an entrepreneur. Just go to uni. You can't that doesn't work in business. You've got to move. And all the successful entrepreneurs do that. And you can build it. You can build that muscle, but you build it by doing it. That's the only way. You can't build the muscle to then get yourself ready to start doing it. You've got to be courageous, and then you start building the muscle by being courageous. Very important. And so uni is a contradiction to that just by going. 4, unis are workforce machines. Universities, the way that the curriculum is structured is to create commerce employees, HR manager, just managers essentially, accountants, HR managers, essentially management, people that can do admin, accounting, and HR is the main area. Maybe some subtle theoretical corporate consulting, but that is still, you're going to be a way better consultant if you've been in the game and you understand business with experience. It's more like universities are workforce machines. They are priming people to get jobs. That's the whole function of a university. You go school, university, and then it's just taking people through a machine that spits them out to be hireable and to be ready to get a job. To give you a little insight, you will be a real, if you really like uni and do well at uni, you'll be a good employee, okay? I actually won an interview competition in my first couple of months at university that I think it was like 300 level 3 and 4 graduates in commerce that were all practicing their interviews, and it was a competition, and the winner got a prize. And I went in there and I thought like an entrepreneur, how can I do this differently? Well, it just makes sense, common sense, to ask the people that are interviewing me, what does the perfect candidate look like? So as soon as we started, I said, all right, guys, and by the way, I went to this interview competition because my friend was running it, and she said, hey, you should come along and check it out. And I was like, all right, that sounds like fun. I moved to a different state. I didn't know many people. And I went and I was like, I'm just going to hijack the start of the interview and be like, hey, before we start, I'd just love to ask you a question. What does your perfect candidate look like? And then instead of actually just answering their questions theoretically, I gave experience examples of when I'd actually experienced the qualities that they told me with their answer to my question at the start that proved that I had the qualities that they were looking for in the job. Experience, actual examples. And I won this competition as a first year uni student with a bunch of 3 and 4 year students. I won out of 300 people. I got like $500, and they gave me the opportunity to go and have all these job opportunities and stuff. And I just said, not interested in anything of that. And I just left because I didn't want to be in a job. But that doesn't mean I'd be a good employee. See, that's an entrepreneurial perspective. But then I get in the job, I'm going to suck because I'm trying to break things, change things, move things. I want to fly up to running the business. I don't want to listen to authority. So all these different things that make me a great entrepreneur and a terrible employee. Unis are workforce machines. That's what they're designed to do. Prime people for the workforce. And so if you want to be a HR manager, if you want to get into recruitment, if you want to get into being an accountant, or you want to be just a general manager, yeah, you're going to learn some things that are half helpful. But when you're starting a business, you don't need to know anything about management. You need to know something about marketing and selling, and what does a profitable business model look like? What's something that people actually want to buy in simple terms? And then you just need to have a bunch of character. And so it's not going to teach you any of that. It's only going to teach you what you need for management. And when you start, I needed to know about management as an entrepreneur. when I was 23, 5 years after I started in business. And by that time, because I'd studied, I did 6 months of uni, and then the stuff I learned on management, I didn't remember a single thing of it because it was 5 years later. I didn't remember a single thing of it. I got all distinctions and high distinctions in my first 6 months. Still didn't remember anything that I learned because I've probably forgot it a week after because, again, it's all memory recall. So that's the next point. Academia rewards recall, not practice. You get marked based on your ability to correctly fill in the blanks on an exam and a test based on what you were taught to read. So you read something, you remember it, and then you fill in the blanks. If you go into the quiz, into the exam, and you give an answer response to the question that is more accurate than what the textbook says, but it's not in the textbook, it just gets marked no. Because the teachers learn the curriculum, you say what the curriculum says, you get a good grade. You could give a more highly intelligent answer than what the curriculum says in response to the question, and they'll mark it wrong. So I remember this, when I studied physical education in high school, there were certain answers that were wrong, but they were right for that stage of learning. And then when you go into more advanced biology learnings, the things that were right at this level of understanding were actually wrong at this. There were more in-depth contradictory knowledge that was more advanced. And if you gave the more advanced answers down here, they marked it wrong because they're grading it based on how closely it matches to the curriculum. So it's not common sense. Like I could tell you, I could go into a university right now and fill out all the answers to business questions and I'd just fail the quiz. But they'd be a hell of a lot more accurate based on real experience than some of the answers. Not all of them, but some of the answers, and they'd be marked wrong. So academia rewards recall. It's just about memorization, which is stupid because common sense trumps information, and that's what you need as an entrepreneur. So it doesn't reward practice because you're not practicing. Even if you do a simulation, there's no skin in the game, there's no blood shed, and therefore there's no ingrained biological far out, I'm not going to do that again. Oh, holy crap, now next time I'm doing this, which you get every week in business, okay? And I'm going to build on that massively with a really interesting distinction when we get down to point 10. Before we move to the next point, if you're finding this video valuable so far, it would mean the world for me if you can like it and show that you enjoy it, because it tells YouTube, hey, this is a good video, let's get it out there to more people. And I want to have as many young entrepreneurs as possible not going to uni and getting out there in the workforce and creating what their heart calls for them to create so that you actually become successful quicker, which I'd put $100 billion, I'd put every money, I would put every single family member and person that I care about and love in the whole world and every single piece of money I make until the day I die, and I'd kill myself instantly. I'd be willing to put all that on a bet in terms of you succeeding faster if you didn't go to uni versus did. 100%. It's not even, and that doesn't, I'm not, shit, I can't believe that. What if it doesn't? It's not going to go the other way. It's not. Because wisdom comes from blood. Common sense trumps information. These are real things in business. Okay, this is an intense point. Wankers who talky talk, not walky walk. So when you go to university, when you're in an organization, the thing that I have found the most annoying and heard is the most annoying and experienced in some small instances, and it just made me run, is politics. Politics from the way that people interact, where they're competing to be right, not get a result. See, people in the world care a lot more about being right in a lot of cases than they do about just living a better life, having love. People want to be right in a relationship more than be happy in a relationship. People, when there's politics around, care more about brownie points, getting other people to like them, having their point heard, than they do about the result. And I had an experience with this when I was invited to join an industry guild, be on the board of this organization to help. I didn't exactly know what the purpose was. So when I went into this meeting, I asked, hey, what's the purpose of this? Everyone was just throwing their opinions around. No one could even answer the question. They kind of tried to put me down and have their point come across, and everyone's just competing for points. No one even knew why they were there. I couldn't believe it. Why would people be spending time here? They don't even know why they're there. University is filled with people like this, where it's more about getting their point heard, what's right, like I want to be right, my opinion, I read this article and this is better than this. And because I was there for 6 months and it was just full of this. People just talky talk. For the 3-year period that they're there, there's no walking, there's no starting a business, there's no action, there's just talk. It's just, no, my opinion's better than yours. I read this Harvard article on business and they said this, and I can't believe you're saying this. And people just spend 3 years talking and debating, and there's politics involved. I'm just like, what is this? Just prove it. Just go start it. Just use it. Use your information. Start it. This is I know I framed it. Me and my videographer were laughing about this before the video because this is what I wrote down. I write down the points when I plan the videos and then I frame it. And I was like, you know what? Let's just write this out exactly the way that I wrote it down. Wankers who talky talk, not walky walk. But it's true. It's true. And this is what you'll legitimately experience when you go there, which is not helpful. It's definitely not helpful for them. But if you really want to make it as an entrepreneur, it's just a waste of your time. It's a waste of the world's time because you could go out there, create something meaningful that can help people and make the world a better place. You could get more money, put that into the economy and boost the economy. You can provide for your family. So many things are going to come from this walky walk part that is the opposite of what happens at university. 7, it becomes harder to start with age. So I'm going to talk a little bit about psychology. When a man, as men and with women, we have these things called archetypes, which are psychological patterns that are ingrained into us that are natural, and we have an affinity towards fulfilling these character traits that are familiar to men and women. As a man, we have king, warrior, magician, and lover. And if you want to go more in depth in this, I do a whole video on it. I'll link it in here on what it means to be a man, and I go through all the masculine archetypes. Now, these archetypes develop at different stages. And this is research work from Carl Jung and Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette, who were 2 students of Carl Jung, psychological frameworks. And as children, as little boys develop, different archetypes start to be ingrained as a younger, immature version before they become king, warrior, magician, lover. So the divine child is the first archetype to develop within men, and that then becomes the king. The divine child, that archetype becomes the king archetype. The last archetype to develop is the warrior, the immature warrior, which is called the hero. Now the hero develops in young men between 16 and 18 years old. Okay, and it has a function. It is designed when you start having this archetype come in. It gives young men, or I'm just going to call them boys, 16 to 18 years old, this inflated, ignorant, and arrogant perspective that they can do anything that they want. And you still have normal human feelings of fear and worrying about social judgment and what if you fail and whatnot, and that gets projected by parents and relatives and blah, blah, blah. But you ultimately have more gusto. You've got this part of you that's saying, go out there and make it. And the reason that it exists is to separate the boy from the family, in terms of allowing him to develop from a boy to a man. That's the function. But you're actually less mature, it's more immature, but it plays a very vital role. That person wants to prove themselves, go out there and chase their thing. And they're like, I don't need my mom anymore. Now I'm a man. And it's important to understand this because it gives you ignorance. And with that ignorance, you can go out there and get messy, start businesses, fail, learn, develop wisdom in business. And this is what I certainly used in that age gap of being younger. When I had that, once I matured and grew, and now I'm not still in that hero archetype. Now I've developed a healthy warrior in terms of my character. I'm less ignorant. I'm not trying to prove myself to the world. It's actually harder to take action because I don't have that ignorance. I know now what's going to happen, the pain, the risk, blah, 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 which is not a better thing. It's worse. It makes it harder to move. You become more scared. So the older you become, the harder it becomes to start. The more analytical you become, the more reserved you become, the more you've got to think about providing for your family, the more that's actually a legitimate concern, because the older you get, the nearer you get to the point where you're going to have kids, and you have to start thinking about money. When you're 18, 19, 20 and you're thinking about going and studying business at university, nothing matters, literally. But every year, that goes on, it gets harder to start. Harder and harder and harder. So the earlier you start, the better. And I've seen it with all my young friends where we started young. I started young, 18, 19. People are, whoa, I can't believe you started so young. It was easier to start at that age than it would have been to start at my age, legit. So it becomes harder. So if you actually want to become an entrepreneur, the stupidest thing you can do is wait. That's literally the stupidest thing you can do. The best thing you can do is start now. And I'm going to build more on that with 10, really important point. Let's go to 8. Knowledge is free and high quality online. See, what happens is when people are scared, fear very much exists in the intellect. If we have intuition, which is where our heart's pulling us, I've got an affinity to move in this direction. And then we have the polarity of that intellect. Intellect desires control to feel safe. And that intellect who wants to be safe is going to conjure up all these justifications and excuses and ideas for why it's actually more mature to go to university. Well, how am I can learn all this amazing knowledge at Harvard Business School. And then you'll just try to search for any evidence that proves that point. The thing is though, knowledge in small business, which is where every business owner starts, in small business, especially young entrepreneurs because you have less investment, it's available free and really high quality online. You want to learn how to launch Facebook ads for marketing? Yeah, you can do that. You want ideas for what are the best business opportunities to start this year? Research it. It's like follow the best business coaches and leaders. Just information everywhere. Just like knowledge, information. But this is what I want you to think. It is so much better to learn just in time as opposed to just in case. Most people, like if you go to uni, it's like, just in case I need to know the 7 Ps of marketing, just in case I have this problem. When you're learning just in time, what's happening is you have a problem, blood, crap. Now I need Facebook ads to work. Research it. You're looking at the article. They say do this. Then you go to Facebook, click ad. They say do this. I change that. How do I write copy? How do I write a good headline? How to write a good Facebook copy and advertising headline. 17,000 articles come up. Look at the most top rated one. Okay, cool, I need to do it using this little structure. Go back to the ad, do the structure. Now you're going, that's how I do it. And you're learning on the job. That's available, high quality, free, online, when you need it. So it's about not if you need it, it's when you need it. It's not just in case I need it. Just learn it, it's good knowledge to know. How do you even know you're gonna need it? Hit the problem, learn it, use it, implement it. It'll stick in your mind because there'll be some blood and experience and association created. Then move on, take action. Then you hit another thing. Cool, research it, free, easy, available online. Cool, that's that. And that's legit. Because when I need to know something, I just research it. Or I hire someone that knows that exact thing at the time. So 9, free mentorship strategy. I'm going to tell you a strategy to find an unbelievable mentor that's going to be so much more valuable than a lecturer or a tutor at a university for business. I found so many amazing mentors that will give me time for free. I might shout them lunch or something like this. This is what you do. You go to LinkedIn and you research a bunch of successful entrepreneurs, and this is how you do it. You just walk around your local area and you see the businesses and you're like, oh, that looks successful. It's a plumbing chain. Call the owner, hey. Or you look and you go, that's I really love that restaurant that does this really cool way of advertising. Okay, cool. LinkedIn, research it, find the founder, send them a message on LinkedIn. And this is the way that you want to do it. You want to, the reason that they would mentor you is because once you have a certain level of success, the success doesn't keep having the same exciting effect on you. There's a certain point where there's a gap and a desire to give back. And it's a real thing, I feel. This is why I do these videos, because I literally love doing these videos. And people have this desire. They've got the successful business now, they've made a bunch of money. It's not about that. They still do it because they're entrepreneurs through and through, but there's a yearning to give back. But they're not full-time coaches or anything like this. They're just running their business, and it's actually quite lonely. They want to be recognized. Their staff aren't going to recognize them. You're an amazing entrepreneur. Their family don't get it. Their friends don't get it. If you come along and you're like, I've been watching your business and I just think you are an incredible leader, you really point out the things that you admire most in them and you really talk them up. They're like, sick. Someone actually sees me. It's legitimately something that they get a lot from. And they don't, most entrepreneurs that are successful entrepreneurs, they're not hypey in the, oh, I'm going to try to start a successful business. A lot of them just started a business and didn't expect it to be this successful. And now they're wildly successful. When you say these things, they're like, wow, this is so nice. I can't believe, I kind of thought I was just some average business owner. And you come along and you're like, you're doing $10 million a year? This is incredible. Like, I want to learn from you. That excites them. That gives them the space to give back. And so just say, I would love to take you out for lunch. And I'm like a young entrepreneur. I'm so impressed with what you've achieved. It would mean the world to me if I could take you out for lunch and have a chat to you and ask you some questions about business and your success and your experience. They would love that. And how do I know? Because I've done it. People that had successful business owners, successful businesses, I just message them on LinkedIn and they catch up with me for lunch. That is so much more valuable than a lecturer. Someone that has a vested interest in you, that gives you time for free because they're receiving from a standpoint of they're getting to give back and feel good about it. They get recognized and seen, they feel good about that. They're getting a lot from it. Even if you might feel like you're getting more, they're getting a lot. It's an equal exchange in an interesting way. And that's there. You can just go get 10 mentors like that for free. Literally, you can just do that. And the cool thing is like all the restaurants and businesses, and you might have like a sports, like in Melbourne, we've got this thing called Bounce. And I know it's more than just Melbourne. It's like an indoor trampolining center. And it's really freaking cool. I could literally just get in touch with the owner of it and just be like, hey, you want to go out for lunch, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to, and just say what I said there. He'll go out for lunch with me for sure. And just trust me on that. It's really cool. So you can just get that way better than a uni degree because they can tell you their real experience and they're going to be willing to catch up regularly with you. And I've also got another video on the difference between a mentor, a coach, and a consultant, which is so valuable to know if you actually want to get into business. So check that out as well, open in a new tab. But I want you to leave this video knowing exactly where you should start instead of uni and just get this through and through. So the last point is the start line always remains. And what I want you to understand is that when you start a business as an entrepreneur, it's like a video game. You're essentially, you get presented with a challenge. The first thing is like, how do I even set up the business? That's the level one. It's like a video game. There's a boss at every level. There's some kind of challenge you have to overcome, and then you get to the next level. Business is exactly the same. And sometimes you can try to skip around levels and like, I know I need to get into PR, but I just am scared to hire a PR person or try it for whatever reason because it's change and it's new and I don't know how to do it. And you try to go around it, but you can't go around the things that you know you need to do in business. You can't just skip levels in a game. You beat the boss, or you go online and get a cheat code. There's no cheat codes in business. It just doesn't work that way. Every level is a new devil. Every level, new devil. And so the start line always remains. There's no skipping things. You learn it. Like let's say, for example, it was going to take you 2 years to break through to 250 grand in your business. Whether you start today, you're going to go through the same stuff, same problems. You're going to have to overcome the problem. It doesn't matter what age, what gender you are. It doesn't matter whether how tall you are, how confident you are. Same stuff. It doesn't matter whether you do it now or you do it in 17 years. The moment you start, there's still going to be that 2 year period. And so if you start now, you'll be there in 2 years. If you start in 2 years, you'll be there in 4 years. If you start in 6 years, you'll be there in 8 years. You can't study. It's kind of like in tennis. You can't just like read about tennis and then just read books for 5 years and then get on the court and just be able to serve really well. You improve based on real experience. And the same thing happens in business. You can't shortcut any of the time. You're still going to suck. You're still going to have to learn how to hit your forehand properly, backhand properly, how to do it with the right footwork. Everything is still going to apply. It doesn't matter how much research you do. It's never going to fast track the time. Maybe a 1% difference, right? And that'd be the exact same proportionate value of getting a coach, a tennis coach, or reading some books as it would reading some books in business. But ultimately you improve in the stadium. You improve on the field. You improve with your hands out here, not in here. And this is business. This is real business. So the start line always remains the same. You're always going to have the same amount of time that you actually do it. So you're just putting off the inevitable. And so if you start today, literally today, with whatever the business is, you're going to become a millionaire. You've got a certain amount of time. Maybe it's going to take you 6.5 years. Maybe it's going to take you 18 months. Maybe it's going to take you 9 years. Maybe it's going to take you 2.5 years. Whatever that time is, the uni degree or any other study is not going to fast track that one day. So if you start now, it's going to take you a year. If you start tomorrow, it's going to take you a year and a day. If you start in 3 years, it's going to take you 4 years. Get it started. And so here's where to start instead. Yeah. Start. And I did another video on how to build $1 million business, going through the strategy of it. Check that out and follow it and do it. And this is how you're going to make it happen. And I swear on my life that if you devote yourself to becoming an entrepreneur, you've got a good attitude, good character, it is impossible not to become a successful entrepreneur or business owner by starting and taking action. It is impossible. Yeah, you might not get results in the first year. Your timeline might be slightly different, but you'll definitely make it. You can't be in business for like 30 years and not become very successful. It's impossible. It is impossible. The only thing that defies that is when someone doesn't have the character for business and they get in for a year and then they jump out and they were never meant for business in the first place. So it doesn't matter how confident you are, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how like good your memory recall is. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you've got some common sense to you and that you start. And then you learn on the job, you learn fast, you take action, because wisdom comes with action, not age. I'm very wise, and I've been very wise. I was mentoring people at 21 years old in business because I'd already launched like 8 businesses at that point. Just took a lot of action. So I had a lot of things that I could pass on and teach. So it doesn't matter whether someone was 50 and starting a business or 17 and starting the business. I had things that they didn't know because I'd done it. And that's things that came with blood. So let's recap. If you want to study something that is like engineering, law, or medicine, or something like that, sure, you need a degree because it's unsafe. It's a stupid risk for society to take to let someone learn on the job as an engineer, because they could stuff up a building and kill someone, right? But in business, not the same. It doesn't matter. So wisdom comes from blood. When you actually have a problem and you solve it in real life in your business, you remember it. When you learn something information-wise, it's got no pull to you. You forget it. Common sense trumps information, trumps it. And I've seen it time and time again. Courage is what's required to crush it in business. And you're contradicting that by doing uni because you're not being courageous. Unis are workforce machines. If you want to be in HR or recruitment, or you want to be a manager of some kind in a workforce, there's a book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth. It's like the entrepreneur myth. And they talk about the idea that there are technicians, there are managers, and there's entrepreneurs. Now the manager has a skill set that's good at nurturing people over a long period of time. They're not entrepreneurs, they're managers. Then there's technicians that are people that do the specific jobs like sales or marketing technician, people that are specific job types, and then there's entrepreneurs. Universities pump out some technicians and some managers, but not entrepreneurs. Academia rewards recall, not practice. You don't practice, that's all you need to know. And when you try to recall, you forget. Wankers who talky talk, not walky walk. University, when you've got intelligent people that are all up in their head and they're constantly reading articles and stuff, can be very, very arrogant, and they don't actually walk the walk. And I experienced this in the 6 months that I was at uni, and it was such a waste of time. They're definitely going to struggle hardcore. It's a stereotype. Like there's obviously some people there that are just really good intent and they just got put into there and they're doing the best they could. Like, you know, I'm a great person. I went to university. There's a lot of beautiful people that do, but there's also filled with a lot of talk and there's no walk. It becomes harder to start with age. Literally from a biological perspective, you become more risk adverse over time. And so you get more and more nervous of making big decisions over time. So it's better to start early. Knowledge is free and high quality online. You can get exactly what you need when you need it, not in just in time, not just in case, when instead of if. free mentorship, find really successful entrepreneurs and businesses that you love to mentor you for free. Just message them on LinkedIn, send them a video, call them if there's a number. Go into their head office and just speak to the owner and say, I'd love to get to know you. They would love to give advice. And business owners love talking as well. It's like their favorite thing to do, and they love being the one that's in charge and giving back. So they will love it. I can tell you, I've done it heaps. And the start line always remains the same. If you start now or in 10 years, you're still gonna have the exact amount of time from when you start to when you break through. It's never gonna change. So you may as well start now. So that's the end of this video. My question to you, and what I want you to put in the comments, is what's a business idea that you've thought of doing? You don't have to know exactly what it's going to be, and you don't even have to want to pursue it. But what's one business idea you've thought of doing? Drop it in the comments. I check out the comments. And if you haven't liked this video yet, click the like button, help this get out to more people. And lastly, make sure you click the subscribe button so I can support you guys on your journey in business and living a dream life and growing to be the best human you can be. Love you guys lots. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.